Get 15% off a set of BrakeMess Select, Select Pro, or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors now at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets, interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Well, hello there, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. How's it going in this gray May that we have? This awesome weather in Los Angeles. It's like you think that it's springtime and you still got your coat on. But I hope everyone had a fantastic Mother's Day. I enjoyed it very much with my little twins and my hubby, and just really a nice great weekend because I got to take a nap. Isn't that great? And I got to veg out a little, which I don't usually get to do, and try to forget about the world for a minute, because I would say 90% of the time when I'm watching movies, I'm also interneting, working, looking stuff up for family or for me or whatever. So then, you take those moments and then you feel guilty, I could have been doing this and I could have been doing that. But yeah, I had about an hour nap on Sunday. It was fantastic. Hope that this summer is gonna start picking up for everyone. I hear that IATSE and the producers are into their second week of negotiations for the general contract, and they assume that they will wrap up this week, which I guess is a good thing, because I haven't heard a peep. I haven't heard anything of standoffs, or I guess it's all going well, right? Or are we just taking what we're getting and running? I don't know. Who knows? It's all a big secret till they let out that huge thing for us to read and decipher for ourselves. Okay, all right. Let's talk about cool things. Let's talk about what I'm watching. New Jersey Housewives. Oh my God. No, I'm not going to get into it. That's only for the few who want to talk about it. New Jersey Housewives. Awesome. I'm back on the housewife train. Back. Still zooming through the nominated pictures, the Academy Award nominated pictures throughout the history of the Academy. And I watched The Adventures of Robin Hood from, I think, 1935. That was fun. My God, my boys loved it. My boys have really tuned in. If I put on a Chaplin movie, they'll ask, where's the guy who doesn't talk with the mustache? They like those movies. They hold up, and the ones that have been restored are really beautiful. Adventures of Robin Hood, Carl Jules Whale, who also did Casablanca and many others. Really fun sets in that one. And it's been colorized, and just, I thought, a fun little movie to watch. I watched The Cotton Club, which is directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it has Richard Gere in it and Diane Lane, who's the baby, in it. I'm always shocked at Diane Lane, who's been around forever, and she's just fantastic, I always think. That is by one of my favorite production designers, Richard Silbert, Dick Silbert, who did Dick Tracy and Chinatown, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Manchurian Candidate. I could go on. He's one of my favorite production designers ever. And so I would have to say the movie was but the sets were cool. It's 1930s and like a jazz club and New York apartments back in that time. It's I don't know if it's a worth watching. I didn't really like it that much, but design wise, I liked it. That's about it. And then since recently I watched Ripley on Netflix, which I will have that interview with David Grotman, the production designer, in a few weeks. I thought, well, I really like this, Tom Ripley story. I should read the other books. But short story, the author, who's escaping me, Patricia she also wrote Strangers on a Train, and Audible had it for free. So I started to listen to that, and then within like 3 days, it was like, this isn't free anymore. Bummer. So then I was like, oh, forget it, I'll just watch the movie, which is directed by Alfred Hitchcock, and really beautifully shot, I must say. Good little story. And in the notes that they have on IMDb, Alfred Hitchcock says he had a stunt person do this fantastical stunt where he crawls underneath a high-speed merry-go-round. That's like the climax of the movie. And he was like, I would never do that again. It was the most dangerous thing. So, and it's kind of a crazy scene at the end with this merry-go-round. But I thought it was pretty good, and I could see how that story could be made over and over again. So Strangers on a Train, I forget what year that was, but yeah, those I watched those classics, and then I checked out the new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I think it's called, because it just came out. I really wanted to see it in the theaters, but I never got there. But I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I've seen the original many times, and a fan of most of the recreations of it. The chick one was awful. Let's not talk about it. But I thought the last one was good. And this one I think is okay. I'm not going to tell you to go watch it. But I liked it because I'm a Ghostbusters fan. If you're not into Ghostbusters, you're probably going to be like, this sucks. But yes, Eve Stewart was the production designer and Michael Standish was the decorator. I thought they did a fantastic job. So, I don't know. I'm nostalgic. I just love the original. And so, yeah. Well, what can I say? What can I say? Let me say this. I would say almost all of this season of Decorating Pages since the beginning of the year is basically FYC. I have been so fortunate with the people who have contacted to be on the podcast and who I've reached out to. So let's just run down a little bit who you can listen to and who's coming up. I have production designer James Philpott from Death and Other Details, which was on Hulu, like a whodunit with Mandy Patinkin. Feud, the Capote and versus the Swans production designer Mark Ricker and Cherish Hale set decorator. That series was phenomenal. Another one, Shogun, with production designer Helen Jarvis. The graphic designer Gina Alessi from Manhunt, which is on Apple. And last week we had set decorator Michael Nolan and production designer Gerald Sullivan talking about Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So those are things you can go back to listen to because Emmy voting is coming up soon. And let's talk about what we got going. Today, you can listen to production designer Glenda Rovello talk about Frasier, the whole revamping of Frasier. Unbelievable. All these years. I have Michael Wiley coming to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Simon Elliott for All the Light We Cannot See, which is on Netflix. It's a total tearjerker if you get into that. And I heard it's a great book, but I didn't read it. As I said, David Grotman, who is one of my favorites, who I have a previous episode with during the pandemic where I stalked him kind of a little bit to be on the podcast, and it is one of my favorite episodes, to talk about Ripley. If you haven't seen that, it's on Netflix. I have production designer Deborah Riley talk about the 3-body problem, scent decorator Kim Leonard to talk about Griselda, and costume designer Kirsten Mann to talk about the outfits and costumes on Loot. So yeah, I mean, full boat, people. Full boat this season. And I've snuck a couple of the production design film studies in there. Now, after I get done this Emmy push, When voting is over, we're going to go back to the production designs. I have 3 more for you. I only have 3 more left. I only had 3 other friends to do it with, to do this with, who was nice enough to do it with. And so that'll be after this, because I need a little break after this because I'm killing myself, but not really because I love it. But yeah, also, let's not forget, you now can, watch along with your picture pages on the YouTube channel. I've started to just pop up pictures while I'm talking to people and put up some really nice clips of people's sets. So if you visually want to see what we're talking about, I haven't done it for everyone, but I'm trying to get it done. Check out the Decorating Pages YouTube page and follow along. There you go. All right, let's talk about today's episode. I am speaking with 5-time Emmy winner production designer Glenda Rovello. Glenda recently had the opportunity to reinvent the iconic sets for the return of the comedy classic Frasier. We speak about bringing his character back to the screen with all new sets, giving details to large swing sets, her process of designing, and much more. We also talk about her collaboration with set decorator Amy Feldman on Frasier, Two Broke Girls, and other series. And Glenda's career includes How I Met Your Father, The Great Indoors, The Millers, Two Broke Girls, and Will and Grace, Way Back When, and the reboot. Yes, that's an amazing career. So I was just thrilled to be able to talk to her. So I hope you enjoy. We were talking about multicam a little bit, and just looking at the impact that you've had on multicam is so incredible, and the amount of episodes that you've done of multicam is so fantastic. I mean, How I Met Your Father, Lopez, Call Your Mother, Man with a Plan. I mean, and those, your greatest hits are Will and Grace, Two Broke Girls. I mean, you have such a phenomenal multicam history here. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that would be really tough. No, that's a Sophie's choice.
No, I have a favorite of my shows, but I don't.
I'm so grateful for, like the people who've given me such great opportunities because when I started, I was an assistant art director and I went from an assistant art director to a production designer in a season. So it just, I'll always be grateful to the 3 fellas that did that for me.
Well, it sometimes when you're pushed into it, the learning process on this job is always you can't get it anywhere else. You really whatever class you take is always helpful, but on the job in the art department is where it's at, really.
And I also think that so much of your previous background or your skills that really informs the work that you do.
Yeah.
There's that the old saying that if your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the more that you bring to your craft, I just think it informs it and makes it richer.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you try now to look for projects that are different? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be different. I want to do something a little different than I did before.
Um, you know, That is an interesting question because not necessarily material driven, but would hope that whether I'm doing, my, 47th bar,
Right.
that I'll still make it interesting, or at least that's what drives me is that, I do it for myself as well.
Yeah.
I never would call it in or anything, let's reuse that plan or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always different.
Yeah. I think too, as we are working in this industry, the bar is so high now.
Mhm.
Not that we weren't putting out great stuff before, but the bar is so high now in design, and everything has to look like a film essentially, and multicam and single cam. And I think that started a lot, I think, with like even How I Met Your Mother, or like those shows where it got away from the audience and they were doing
Oh,
thing
the hybrid.
yeah, the hybrid type. And I know that that made multicam so much harder. And I wondered, like, in a sense, when you're designing, are you like, oh God, is this gonna be is this gonna be like a nightmare? It should be just a multicam. It used to be so simple.
Um, I guess what I do, or what, how I design, it's for, the end result, what's going to be on camera. And that hasn't changed for me since 98, when I first got Will and Grace. So the quality of the architecture, the choices of set dressing, I think we decided it wasn't going to be ones that were made just to make things easy. And I've always been very much about the look of the show.
Yeah,
It's never been diluted. We've always taken it super seriously, and I've been working with the same people forever.
yeah,
So whether we have an audience or we have no audience, our choices kind of have always been made to, what will give us the richest look.
yeah. I know this project you have Amy Feldman, and
Mhm.
you did Two Broke Girls with her and others. So I know, and I just think the standard of this show, especially in like these bold choices that you made with either wallpaper or artwork, and how the whole space is designed, it's it's really like a just another level, I feel like. I mean,
Oh,
and
that's so nice.
and I
Thank
mean,
you.
I feel like you raised that too with Will and Grace. It was just so it's they're such lush sets that you know, design, and I think it was Melinda, am I saying, I think it was Melinda
Melinda
Ritz,
Ritz.
yeah,
She was a
for,
decorator.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
who was phenomenal also. Um, just raising the bar on these shows, and I just love it. I love like all the nooks and crannies and all the decisions made in that, and I think the show looks wonderful.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
oh yeah.
Amy and I have a really great working relationship. She will uncover every, like hidden treasure in our city. And she brings in, and we still do it very old fashioned. She brings in a stack of photographs, and then we start telling our story. So, we may start, whatever inspires us. It could be something as small as a tray or the sofa or whatever. And then we just start building our stories, and we've done it consistently since Two Broke Girls. That's
Yeah.
just the way we work together. And between the two of us, it's a really interesting dialogue because it's for us, it's more is more. We just like, what do you think about that? What do you think about it? And we try to, um, whether the choice is made for like a visual meaning or if it's made for a character driven meaning,
Mm,
but we talk about it, and it's really great. It's a very enriching experience every time we meet for
mm.
those.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you have to. The production designer and set decorator relationship is it's a huge bond, really.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah.
It's true.
It's
We're texting all day
yeah,
long.
yeah. Were you so excited to revamp Frasier in this, or
Oh my
sort of
gosh,
nervous? I mean, it's such an
yes,
iconic
and
show.
yes, nervous and excited. It was such a legacy for me. I always wanted to work for Roy Christopher. I thought he was so talented. I
Mm,
thought that Frasier, the original Frasier, had established something that wasn't seen in multi-camera before. That level of design, and we know that while the character, Frasier, has moved on in his life, longer lives in Seattle, the man hadn't changed. So he
right.
will still be the connoisseur or the collector, and his taste level is so high that we just thought, well, how would it have evolved in these last 20 something years? And certain things, like I think certain interests would still remain, like whether it was his pre-Columbian art artifacts, or his, the Steinway piano,
Right. Oh,
things like
gorgeous.
that. We wanted to just continue his story that was established by Roy Christopher.
I too think that the the color palette also is
Hmm.
in tune with originally what was going on. At least to me, it was, you know, these muted colors, but rich and
Mhm.
just beautiful. I was wondering because they referenced the wallpaper in the script on in a later episode, but did they reference it because you made it, or did they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It was a visual pun
yeah.
from the very beginning.
Hmm.
So I selected it. It's called Ink Blots,
Hmm.
and it's hand painted in Kansas, and it's like a Rorschach test.
Yeah,
And I think it's very on the nose, but yeah, and the writers picked up on it and made it into a successful joke.
yeah.
But you're right about the palette. Uh, it's fairly neutral, but of real materials, like a lot of that white oak. It's repeated throughout the set in furniture, on the walls, in the cabinet work.
Yeah. It's really nice because it doesn't overpower. Like it's
No,
not like it's like wood. It's like it's such a nice statement, especially with the black iron there and such a nice composition that they can get there. You know, in
yeah,
multicam, I
thank
think
you.
as you say, like it's all about angles in multicam, right? It's all about like and you only really
Yes,
have these main sets of where can you move these characters to, and I think it's such a great opportunity with that boldness back there. It's beautiful.
thank you.
And then that artwork also
I
behind
know, right?
behind him is like so
So
fantastic.
it just so happens that we're season 2, episode 1, and today's the first day on stage.
Mm.
In the third episode, we have an art gallery, so we are bringing in pieces by the art that's behind
Oh, nice.
it's on camera left right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
So we're bringing in several of their pieces. So it looks like, Frasier is a collector of that particular artist.
Oh, that's fun. I mean, when you have a character with money, you get to do so much more.
I know, it's so fun. It is fun, but Two Broke Girls,
Oh,
those
yeah.
girls were broke. And,
Yeah.
and, that was architectural salvage yards every week for me.
Yeah, they had some great eclectic style. I mean,
Uh-huh.
really. Let me see. So the bar, to me, and looking at the bar, it reads so nice with the depth, and then because this is set in Boston, I think it's so honorable that it's like a fireman bar. Like the motif of the fireman bar is so nice.
Well, that was certainly driven by the writers. They wanted that. They wanted Frasier's son to have selected a career choice that he wouldn't have selected for him, for his son. I don't know if you picked up on that storyline that
Yeah.
Freddie, his son, dropped out of Harvard to
Yeah.
become a firefighter. And a lot of Frasier and Freddie's conversations or what they're working through are their, particular choices and developing a relationship.
I did. I watched the whole season.
Okay, so you know it.
Yeah, I know. I do love the choice here, which sort of breaks a little from maybe a lot of multicams that you've seen where, you know, the people have their booth. And here you've given this opportunity, like pull up another chair, and it's only
Yeah.
the one side and everything. And I was like, oh, that's such a nice break from, you know, how it is, and then to have the depth of the people in the background is so nice too. Of like, oh, they're not really eating, they're playing chess, or like there's things for people to do in the background, which I thought was really clever.
Oh, great,
Yeah,
great. And then camera right of this, we
the
wanted another
staircase.
seating area, and I just wanted it to be based on a like a church pew.
Hmm.
And we looked high and low, and I think we found one in like Offer Up or something, and we sent a truck out to probably Downey. Everything's always in
Yeah,
Downey.
right.
and, and we cut it, we gave it a mitered corner so it's an L section, so I really love that seating area
Yeah,
downstairs.
I don't have it. I don't have a picture of that, but I know what you mean. And then the staircase also.
Oh, yeah.
we have that opportunity again of exits and
Mhm.
stage appearance, like when on the Christmas episode, I think he's announcing things and it gives like a stage presence, which is so nice.
Oh,
But yeah,
good. The Cheers bar was so iconic for Frasier, and that's a hard bar to live up to because we're also I think it's kind of ingrained in our psyche that when we see Frasier, we think of the Cheers bar.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about that. I was wondering if there's ever a note, like we want to, we want to reminisce Cheers a little bit here for him, or was there ever that sort of like, hey, what about if we did something like Cheers?
It hasn't come up on this show
No,
specifically because I think that
it
uh, it might be confusing, so we deliberately
did, yeah, yeah,
didn't want it to look like Cheers.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
I didn't. I was wondering just out of like if Kelsey ever gets a voice in it and is like, oh, if I had a stool, or if there's ever the reminiscent, even with his older Frasier set, was there anything that he kind of said, like, I kind of
Yes.
liked it when,
I think Kelsey, the man and the producer, he had a lot to say about how you move through the sets and like his kitchen. And we did do some, before we went to construction, we did redesign the kitchen to give it that like a centerpiece so that they can have more of a farce,
Mm,
that they'd have, upstage and downstage entrances. So that was a lot from Kelsey and the writers. And Kelsey has a lot to say because he also directs several of the episodes.
yeah,
So we did do one minor modification to the bar this season, just so that we can get some cameras into camera ports that you wouldn't be able to see in these photos.
yeah,
So that was the director,
I,
Kelsey.
yeah. I mean, it's it's funny too how many things you can design and then somebody has an idea afterwards.
Yeah,
Some brilliant
there's
idea
lots of
afterwards.
opinions.
What if I could just, what if we could have a camera port over here? And you're like, this a whole other wall moves. Why do you gotta go over here?
There's a door.
Yeah,
That
there's
was my favorite way. You want a camera port in the door?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we did it, but that wasn't on this show.
Yeah.
And Kelsey's, it wasn't adding camera ports; they already existed. He just wanted to get the camera behind the wall faster, so
No,
we gave more room. So because he wants to use them more often, and so that it's not a tight squeeze that they just roll in there and roll out. Because a lot of the things that we do, it could be just continuous throughout a scene.
mm,
So look, 'cause we don't stop and go a lot.
right.
They play they perform a play, and so we'll go from scene to scene usually. So we don't have a lot of stops.
What was your stage? Was it like a apartment and then bar and then swing set? Like, or was is the apartment in the center?
Oh, for the audience,
Yeah.
gosh, this season, in front of the audience will be the little office, Ellen and Kelsey's office.
Oh, I love
The
it. I love this
the next,
office.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's a tiny little set.
Yeah, it
Then the
is.
next set over is the bar.
Mm,
And then the last one is Frasier and Freddie's apartment. And all of those are in front of an audience.
mm.
Then to the left of that, it's still on our camera aisle. That's a swing set. And then we have another swing set space that is next to the audience, and they wouldn't see that.
The only multicam I've ever been in the audience for was Will and Grace. And it
Oh, yeah.
and it was like the first year I moved out here, and I was in such awe of how you were saying, like, it's a play, like they don't really stop and like, or they stop and like, oh, try this other line, like at the end when
Right.
the scene is done, like a candy bag of other options. But how the like the ballet of these cameras moving back and forth and getting angles and never the actors never stopping. So it's almost like edited as they're acting. It's a beautiful symphony, I must say, when you can watch it. I think it's wonderful.
And it's funny that you bring Will and Grace, because Will and Grace was famous for those alternate lines, because those writers were just so quick on their feet, and that was their fuel.
Yeah.
Is finding, is there a funnier, delivery? Is there something funnier? That's something funnier, and it was amazing how quick people come up with those, new ideas.
Yeah, it is. It was amazing to me to watch, and then it's so amazing for me to see in person the sets and everything. So that's the only thing that always sticks out in my head. It's the only one I saw in person. I don't even think I've seen like I never go over to like other people's, you never get to go over to other people's sets. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
don't know if I've ever even seen another multicam, to be honest. That's the
I
only one I've
will come
seen.
over.
Oh, I'm gonna come over. Yeah, I'm gonna come over
Good.
and see these. But
I always love seeing it. I do you work on lots very often, or are you
yeah,
mainly on location?
yeah, I've been at uni for like 3 months,
Forever?
and before that I was at Gower, which I haven't been in 20 years, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah. No, I love go. I'm saying I love to go to other people's sets. I don't think I've seen other multicam sets.
Okay.
That's why. That's what I mean. Like I always sneak on to everyone else's set while I'm walking to the parking lot. I don't
I
care.
know, right? And like if you're at like a lot like Warner Brothers, you see everything in the mill because that mill is
Right.
still real,
Right.
and all the different shows and what they're building. And I always love that because I'm in the mill at least twice a day,
Right.
when I work at Warner Brothers. And then there's a lot of mills like or uni. I felt like I never went to the mill very often. It was so far from any stage I was
Yeah.
near.
Yeah.
So, I would just like, maybe go there for just first thing in the morning and then, go to stage the
Yeah.
rest of the day.
This office you were saying was tiny, which I watching it, I was like, this is a small room to get all these characters in, but it works and it's so beautiful with that wallpaper. I kept trying to see like, is it an Irish blessing? Like, what is how did you come up with that and the trim and
It is Bradbury and Bradbury,
mm,
which is still printing hand printed wallpaper. And now they are using computers, but just way more recently. And it's arts and craft, and it's probably William Morris or someone,
mm,
of that era. And they're
right.
still hand printed.
Oh, it's beautiful. And the trim and everything is so pretty. And it to me perfectly reads like a little Harvard office for a
Yay!
tenured professor.
Yay! It's a win.
Oh yeah. I thought it was funny too how it wasn't like, oh, let's shove another desk in here. It's the like the banker style of them sharing this desk. Also, I thought was that's good comedy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so easily shootable as well.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
I have oh there's more of the wallpaper there and also him being has been there a long time, like you could see the contrast of like the density of his side of the desk versus Frasier's, and I think it's just a gem of a little set there. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. And this season we'll see a little bit more of Frasier's personality in that office, which has
Mm.
been Alan's for, millennia.
Oh, and then I just noticed that lamp, that beautiful little lamp on the desk is fantastic too.
That Amy Feldman
Yeah.
found it under a rock somewhere.
So during these episodes, pretty much you always have like a big swing set in every episode.
Right.
I don't know how you have time or I don't know how you have the time to pull off like this giant bowling alley that you did. I don't
Pull it off because it's a blast.
Yeah, really. I mean, to me, because I know that you basically have a week. I mean, we all have tight schedules. We all do. But I always feel like multicam, man, that's a lot going on for your one set
Right.
for your two sets for the week. It's a lot.
But some often we are given a heads up,
Mm,
and there may not be a script, but I think I had, probably, a hiatus week, plus a week or something, because a lot of these things, like that wallpaper upstage, that blue and
Yeah,
teal or teal on teal, I think that's from the UK. So I
it's
know I
beautiful.
probably had at least 10 days, and I do that often. As I'm reading something, I know like a palette that I want to use, and I will just order material before we even start drawing a plan.
Mm,
That is my MO, is that, get it in the air and get it here. So,
right.
uh, yeah.
Because there's so much, especially carpet and wallpaper for
Mhm.
designers. The lead time, it's always too long, or they don't have enough. Like that's
Right.
always a struggle for designers, I feel, is carpeting and wallpaper.
Well, yeah, and it becomes kind of an additive process, like I know I ordered that teal wallpaper right away, and then that carpet was like the best carpet, and I really liked it.
Oh,
But to marry the two, I picked up that orange stripe so that they came from the same world,
mm-hmm.
color wise, palette wise, and that was a gigantic set. That was 3 rooms almost
Yeah. I mean, you
of
have
scenery.
this whole other side of the
Yeah.
of of the set.
Uh-huh.
And I do
Uh,
love, I don't I say like I'm kind of hiding it here, but this the pins to me is so
yeah. Right.
genius. I love that. And all the
That was
awards and everything, and yeah, it's a lot of detail. It's a lot going
yeah.
on in this bowling alley. I thought it was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and that's probably, the set gets standed at or gets stood up at midnight, and then by the next morning, set dressing comes in at 6 a.m. The floor's already down, and then they start, you know, dressing like mad, and by 10 a.m., the director is on stage and rehearsing in the set. So all the major pieces are in. So it really is a fast turnaround, and that set was gigantic.
Yeah, because you have a lot of graphics there too, and then you have another wallpaper back there.
Oh my gosh, I have wallpaper everywhere in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, over by the pinballs too. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge set. It's so fun. And then a different carpet. I just noticed
Uh-huh.
you had a different.
That's shag,
Yeah.
because you gotta have a little shag.
Yeah, when you're taking your shoes off, you just you want some shag underneath you.
And it absorbs all those sodas so well.
Yeah. I thought too the other a really fun set was this kind of flashback to his Dr. Crane show,
Right.
which
And we tried to do that, so that it looked historical as well.
Mhm.
Is kind of like those talk shows that were kind of done in an arc,
Yeah.
and they always had some kind of Duratrans somewhere, and they have those big openings, and then that upstage entrance, that people can kind of slide around. So we tried to do it like an old timey talk show instead
Yeah.
of the new ones.
It's but it's still you have his palette still in his creative world, which is nice
Yeah,
too. It doesn't break. It wasn't so character broken that he had like this big bright show or anything. It's still him.
no, yeah, it's still him. It
Yeah.
has to be, Frasier Crane approved.
Yeah. Um, did you have like a huge obstacle or anything in the season that you felt was like, oh, I don't know, we're gonna get this done, or like did you have
Oh,
a prep time to get it up and running enough?
yeah, you always just get it done. You have a level of expectations that you have for yourself, and you just get it done. And my crew is amazing. I've worked with Connie Marinos, my art director, for 24 years.
Oh, bravo.
And the
Bravo.
only person I've worked with longer is Jimmy Burrows for 26 years.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's a good one. That's a good
yes,
long run.
yeah. So, like, everything, there are solutions to most problems, or redefine the problem so it's not a problem. It's usually space, when there's just one too many swing sets, and how are we going to make this work? And maybe it involves pre-shooting something, or the fact that one of our lead characters is a fireman, and well, where are those fire trucks?
Right. That the
Yeah.
firehouse was another huge set. I didn't put that in there, but that firehouse set was huge. Also, was that the same footprint of the bowling alley, essentially?
Um, No,
Just
I
kidding.
think our bowling alley was on the other side of the stage.
Mm.
And it went perpendicular to the fire aisle or to the camera aisle. Does that make sense to you?
Yes,
So it
yeah.
goes, you know,
It
the,
was
yeah,
the side.
exactly.
Yeah.
The firehouse was going along, you know, the same direction as the camera aisle, but we couldn't fit a, you know, any kind of pumper or a ladder or any of those things. So we ended up using like a fire chief's truck.
Mm.
So, you know, it still gives us the, you know, that kind of working vehicle, but, you know, half the length. And even that is just gigantic.
Yeah. Well, in seeing that, I was like, well, how do they back that into the set? Like,
Yeah.
is the elephant door like open? Like, what's going on?
We have to site the set close to a load-in door.
Right.
And trucks at that point, I didn't see them move that on, but they put them on these little go jacks,
Mm.
you know, so that, you know, the car is not really driving, it's being rolled.
Right.
But I don't know if that was you know, if that's true for that truck, because I didn't see them move it on. And because we're an audience show, there can't be any gasoline in the tank, and a
Right.
lot of things are unplugged or, you know, like the ignition or something, you know,
Yeah.
because of fire. You know, there's things that you have to do to a vehicle.
You're almost just getting like the shell of it. Like Transmo's bringing it in a trailer and then it's plopped down where do you
Exactly.
want it? And then it's not moving. Like they're
No,
done.
it isn't.
Don't move
It
it.
isn't unless there's someone pushing it from behind.
Um, do you do you let me see. I was gonna ask about like research for this, but I was wondering if you went back and watched a lot of Frasier, or was this just a clean slate for you?
Well, Frasier was, you know, part of my childhood or, you know, young adult. So I watched it.
You watched it,
So I
yeah.
knew the show and the fact that, you know, I really admired those sets. I thought they were really interesting. I thought they spoke of their time. That fireplace was so perfectly postmodern. I've
Mm-hmm.
always loved the idea that, you know, they saw something and they recreated the Coco Chanel sofa. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that was unheard of, you know, when I, you know, was just right out of graduate school, you know, people, you know, it was just more of the things that you could get at a prop house.
Right.
And a lot of those shows look at, or, you know, I don't, it's not like, that's just the nature of
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
their inventory.
Yeah.
And Frasier left that, you know, whether it was the, you know, that yeah, so much of it, and the way the kitchen was at an angle to the rest of the set, it was so different than everything else.
Yeah.
So I really did admire the design behind Frasier.
Is when you have to connect these two apartments because his son at first lives next door and then
Yes,
there's the hallway and then the other part, are you trying to mirror with angles pieces that don't quite make like I always feel like it doesn't quite make sense, but that I know that they need that angle. Like in your design process, do you
yes.
know like I need this angle here and
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we designed for the camera
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And but also because our cameras roll right across the front of the set, and you know could be continuous action, the way they connect has to make sense. And also for this particular show, because I've been on the Paramount lot, this is my maybe fourth season in a row
Mm.
being on this lot. The back lot is, you know, very convenient if we need to go you know, do some
Oh, right.
street scenes if we are going outside. So without being asked, I did match one of the exteriors here for like
Smart.
window placement, just so that, you know, if it comes up in the future, it hasn't yet, and it may not, you know, I can say, oh, this is our building.
Oh,
So,
smart.
you know, I'm referencing the architecture that exists on Paramount's lot.
That saves you a huge headache later on when you're like, the
Absolutely.
building looks like this. Now we have to find this. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah. And not leave the lot.
Yeah. Or like even if they sometimes, they move shows, you could always say like I got to go back to Paramount to do that exterior because that's what it matches. I mean, that's pretty smart. So you have it in your back pocket if it ever comes up.
Yeah.
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 Is there any set on Frasier or another show that you would love to do? Like a type of show, like oh, I wish this was a period, or do you focus on maybe trying to,
You know, I get so much joy from just the design. I don't think there's any, like architectural style that I would, like I'm really in the mood to do a Victorian. If it comes up, then in the mood to do a Victorian
right?
because I kind of embrace it and run with it. So I can't, I guess, like 10 years ago, I wanted to do something mid-century modern or something,
Hmm.
done it, and it was very enjoyable. It's fun. So I'm kind of like a chameleon, yeah,
Yeah.
I just like the process.
Yeah. And I know in my own world and yours, the research that we put into things and looking at different architecture and styles of furniture and everything. I've always said like it's just like we learn every day. Like
Absolutely.
we're just
Yeah.
constantly learning things. You're learning about bowling alleys or how this is done. Like it's
So
weird
true.
what we have to
So true.
research sometimes, but
Mhm.
it's always fascinating. I always love that part of our job, just getting to research things and why they built things like that. And then how do you, as the designers, recreate this for camera? It's so,
Mhm.
so genius sometimes. But
Yeah, it is so great. And sometimes you just uh you do a deep dive,
yeah,
like you just say, but why is it like that? And then you can just kind of like go down the rabbit hole
yeah.
and but it's you do it on purpose and it's kind of rewarding.
Oh
We
yeah.
did it for Will and Grace the second, our reboot,
Mm,
and Peter Gursky was the decorator
right.
on that, those
Genius.
3 seasons. We did a tenement museum,
Mm,
and um and so I got like an 1890s New York uh pictorial or something. It was a little book, and it was all 1890s architecture, and one chapter was on the tenement, and it was so interesting why there were like clear story windows in between rooms, and it was for ventilation, and then working that into a set, and it was I really enjoyed it.
yeah. That type of thing when you find out things and you're like, that's why that's that. That's why
Yeah,
that's
I
there.
don't know why they have a window in
Yeah.
this, and then now I know.
And now we're gonna do it. No, and then a week later it's shot and then the walls come down and you feel
Exactly,
bad.
yeah. We're gonna do this in about 4 hours.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad I found this detail because it shoots
Mhm.
tomorrow. So
Yeah.
um and then lastly I want to say I always hate when there's a holiday. I kind of hate when there's a holiday, but you guys ended on such a like beautiful little Christmas and decorating for Christmas and everything, and I
Yeah.
thought there was just a
20
fun.
Christmas trees.
Yeah, 20 Christmas trees. And then it was tamed down to like a sophisticated level of just white lights and everything. I was like, "Oh,
Right.
that's really fun how just the change in lighting on the Christmas trees made it all like nice and pretty." It was really fun.
Made it more Frasier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it made it more acceptable. But that the last scene with everyone at the table I thought was so nice, and getting to see the set that whole time up and down the table I thought was really pretty. It was a really great scene there to show off the set.
That was very fun to design. It was pretty in the end. We had to start with that garish,
Mm,
and it's all logistics because all that stuff was on the tree. So it was just unplugging those lights because we had so many. It's not like we could,
right.
uh,
Can't take them off that easy.
redress 20 trees in front of an audience. That would be miserable for those people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And the decorator. I know I'd be sweating. I
yeah.
know. I wouldn't like that. Well, I'm so glad to have gotten to speak with you more than hi, how you doing? So, because I'm such a fan.
And I hope I run into you when you come and visit.
Oh yeah, I'm coming next week. I'm gonna stop by. I saw the
Great.
sign and I was like, oh, I wonder if she's down there because I only came by to look at the office last week, or this week. So yeah.
again, just so thankful to get the time to speak with Glenda, and what a tremendous career. Tremendous. And I mean, Will and Grace, I remember going to watch that and being in such awe of just this dance that the cameras were doing in shooting everything and just zooming around each other to get the angles, and seeing James Burrows there direct. It was like I was in such heaven. I just remember just being in awe and thinking, I can't wait to be a part of this. Like, this is crazy. Like, I want to do this. So yeah. So it's been great to talk to her. I have met her maybe twice ever, saying just hi, hello. So it was great to really speak with her and appreciate her career. So I went through it in the beginning. Everybody coming up, it's going to be a great next month of interviews. That's all I can promise you. So I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Monop for Decorating Pages.